Ooh.
All right, so the official episode 1, we're going to be exploring commercial drivers. So this is the reason why people make content. What do you know already about commercial drivers?
Well, from my understanding, commercial is like advertisement. I assume drivers is like how you align what you're making content about to your audience. So like trying to sell your product. And similar to audience segmentation, I guess, where you're trying to pick out what groups of people this content would apply to and make sure it reaches them.
Okay. Yeah. There's elements of that in there. So commercial drivers is basically the why. What's the business goal behind whatever you're doing, whatever your organization is doing? And it normally falls within 5 categories.
Mm-hmm.
An easy way to remember it is just A, B, C, D, E. A stands for acquisition. So that means any type of content or motivation behind selling. So obviously commercial drivers can apply to many different areas of business, but obviously we just want to focus on the content side of things. So A for acquisition. So this is all the types of content that will help you sell your products or your services. And then we have B, that stands for brand. So anything that creates brand awareness. C is community or engagement. So any type of content that helps you produce more engagement or to build a community. A, B, C, D is for differentiation or what makes you different. So this is any type of content that really looks at your services or your products and creates that separation between you and your competition. And then E stands for expanding markets, right? That really applies to sort of bigger businesses normally that want to move into a different market or a different demographic. And those are our five different areas that businesses focus on. So the problem then comes from when you want to create content, but you don't quite know what content to create. That's when you should be going back to your commercial drivers, because the content that you're going to be wanting to make is different depending on which one of those commercial drivers that you're focusing on, right?
Right.
You understand so far?
Yeah.
Okay. You could think of it as when you go to the shop, yeah? So say you go to Sainsbury's,
Mm-hmm.
why are you at the shop will affect what you're going to do there, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So if you're on your lunch break and you go to the shop, are you going to be getting a trolley and walking around and...
No.
No. You have a certain purpose that you want to do. Likewise, if you're there to do your weekly shopping, your mindset and how you go about that shopping is different, right?
Right.
And if you're going there to return something, yeah, all 3 times you're going into the shop, but you have different reasons for going, and that affects the type of interaction that you'll have with the shop, right? And it's the same with content. And businesses and organizations sort of jump in and think, oh, we need to just go to the shop. Oh, we need to just produce content because everyone else is producing content. And they fall into a trap of literally just creating as much content as they can or just posting as much as they can, but it doesn't really have any meaning or any purpose. So our job, or my job, is to make sure that when they come and say, hey, we want to create content, the first question that we ask is,
Why?
why? Why do you want to create content? So the goal is we want to tie why they're asking for content to the commercial driver. Therefore, we know what type of content that we need to create. So the client comes to us, we want to just start producing content. What are some of the questions that you feel that we should be asking?
What their business or what their organization does,
Okay, yeah.
whether they're trying to sell a product or they're a charity trying to raise funding and money. Their goals, their end goals, and like whether I don't know.
No, that's it. Like you've touched on some key things there. So exactly, what are their key goals? What are their milestones that they need to try and hit? What is it they want their content to do? So what does success look like? So if we produce this piece of content, what is it that you want to do? And that will help us to sort of understand, okay, they want to sell this particular service, or they want to show how the organization deals with sustainability. So pinpointing and tying that content to a commercial driver helps us sort of understand what content that we need to create. So let's go through these 5 commercial drivers and see which pieces of content that we can make for each of these. So the first one then, acquisition or sales. What type of content do you feel that you need to create for?
In order to sell a product.
There you go. Thanks for helping me. Go for it.
Creative adverts that include that product, perhaps like a story
Okay.
behind it, or like I want to say leaflets, but that's not really.
All right.
That's more like graphic design, isn't it?
Yeah, but that comes into content. A lot of what we do is just digital,
Yeah.
but obviously we do photo shoots, do things like that. So that goes into like print media, focusing more on the digital side. What sort of things go into the acquisition part, the actually selling? What type of content would you expect to see? So let's say it's something that you want. So what is it that you may be in the market to buy right now?
The Arcane book that's
Okay.
out.
So the is that the
Yeah.
artwork,
Yeah.
the complete artwork of Arcane? Okay. So what would you want to see, or how did you know that even existed?
Through TikTok, actually.
TikTok. What was it? What did you see?
Well, someone else had it, and then they posted some of the pages. It was obviously appealing because that's what I'm into right now, and interactive as well. Because I read through some of it, and it's like a mix between obviously the arts and like hidden details within the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from a content point of view, that person may have just been a user, or they just bought it, or they may have been an influencer, someone that was paid to just show that there. So straight away, we've got 2 pieces of content. We've got user generated and we've got influencer content. And then we could also have ads. What is it about the book, that particular book? Because there's 100 books on Arcane. What is it about that book that, and what you've seen, that makes you interested in that one? We went on Amazon the other day and there was loads of other Arcane books. Why didn't we just buy one of those?
Yeah, well, as I said before, I think it's the hidden details within it and the concept art, which, you can't really, I've tried to search it up and you can't really find anything. I mean, there are videos on YouTube, but to have that book and maybe even learn something about animation from it, which is another thing that I'm interested in. Great.
You just described some of the messaging that you've got from it. So you understand that it goes into detail about certain things that are in the show. So straight away there, we understand under the acquisition content, there's some of that D content, that what makes it different. Yeah. So there's elements of that has to be in the acquisition content, showing you the artwork, the quality of the book, how much information's in it, how thick it is. These are all things that play into why you want to purchase that book, right? So there's a whole heap of content that goes into sales, from grabbing your attention to creating that desire and showing you, maybe not in like a luxury, something that you want, but in products where you actually need it. They'll show you some separation, how practical it is. In terms of this particular book, you mentioned that it's not focused solely on one character or one storyline. It's showing you the value that you get from this book. Yeah.
Hmm.
So there's loads of different pieces of content that you can create around your products or services that help you sell. So what if you're not selling? So a charity doesn't sell a physical product, but in a way they do sell themselves, right? So they want to get in more funding. So there is an element of selling they do, but then it goes more into this B content, this brand awareness then. So what type of content do you think would go into brand awareness? Firstly, do you understand brand awareness? What's the goal in brand awareness?
To make sure that your brand is known by as many people as possible.
That's right. So you're not actually selling anything in this stage. You just want to get that reach. You want to get as many eyes on your brand as possible. So what content do we create for brand awareness?
Well, I think that goes under more of like the creative, shorter, like you were showing me today. I don't know what those types of videos are called, but do you want me to describe what
Mm-hmm.
happened? I think they were promoting a pair of trousers and they filmed it in a way that was like he was buying drugs and she pulled out the trousers. They were both wearing them as well. And yeah, it was like a sell between them, but that short video was promoting what they sell
Yeah.
and
Okay.
making their brand aware.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's the
Yeah.
element. So when it comes to fashion, sort of um, little shorts that hook the audience in,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. And then go a little bit deeper into brand awareness, where you want to know, what does the company do or what does the charity do? What types of content would you be creating then?
Well, from what I've seen from your work, you do a lot of story-based videos
Mm-hmm.
that recount like people's experiences with those charities in order to invoke emotions into your viewers and your audience, which is quite effective.
Yeah. So creating story definitely comes into the brand awareness. That is a big part of it. So where in the acquisition, you might have testimonials, people's reviews, that sort of things. When it comes to brand awareness, you might have, like you said, stories, what the brand has been through, how it's helped its users. Yeah. You might have case studies, things like that.
Hmm.
And that will go into promoting the brand or getting it more and more out there. All right. So then let's go to that C type of content for community or engagement. What type of content do you think you'll be creating? And think now of yourself and when you've actually engaged with content.
Has to be funny,
Okay.
but like intellectual, like make you think about it before you can have a laugh.
Okay. So what can you think of a piece of content where it brought a community together, made you sort of send it to your friends and it was going back and forth? And it is actually around Arcane, the one I'm thinking of.
Um, okay, I do have one, but it's like really stupid. Before Act 3 of season 2 came out, everyone had like these profile pictures
Mm-hmm.
based on it was like a trend based on like whether they think an action of a certain character was good, bad, or they didn't know. It
Mm-hmm.
was so funny, honestly, the funniest thing. And then the producers, League of Legends, they also joined in, and they were all commenting on the videos, and you know, they got the voice actors of the characters to even express their opinions on some of their videos. It was honestly best time, man.
But can you see how that brought the community together?
Yeah.
So whether League of Legends or the producers of the show created that idea themselves, or whether they saw it from their community that likes the cartoon or the animation, and then they jumped on board to sort of fuel it.
Mm-hmm.
And for about 3-4 days, all I could hear is you laughing from your bedroom with your friends, and everyone's changing their profile pictures to these 3 options, correct?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's a great example of that C-type content, that community building content, right? Is can you create something that brings that community together, gets them talking, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So the next one then is D-type content. What makes you different to your competition? And this can be a really valuable, because this could set your brand completely apart and allow you to carve out a piece of the industry. So someone that does this very well, let's say I was going to use the example of Apple, but let's look at Airbnb. So Airbnb, do you know what that is?
Yeah, the hotel. No. Yeah.
Yeah, so they basically allow people to rent out their homes. So let's look at an ad. I'm going to show you an ad,
Mm-hmm.
and we can see how they're creating that separation in their messaging. So let me just get one up quickly. Find me the link for the Airbnb advert.
You can watch Airbnb's Live There campaign video here. youtube.com/watch equals DR2ITZ. Please open your app to see this link.
Have a look at this ad from Airbnb, and then we'll talk about it.
Don't go to Paris. Don't tour Paris. Don't go to the same places and take the same pictures. And please, don't do Paris. Live there. Because when you live in Paris, you have your own home. Cook. Make your bed. You know, the stuff you normally do. Don't go to LA. Don't go to New York. Don't go to Tokyo. Live there. Live in Malibu. Live in the East Village. Live in Ibisu. Know someone. Pretend you do this all the time. Have your own neighborhood. Feel at home. Anywhere. Wherever you go, don't go there. Live there, even if it's just for a night.
All right, so looking at that ad, yeah, how have they used that D-type content where the main focus is setting themselves apart from everything else? What's their message?
Well, you know, in a hotel, it doesn't necessarily feel like you're actually living there, but as you know, when you're using or renting out an Airbnb, which is somebody else's home, you're cooking for yourself, and you're essentially living there. So that's their message. Don't go there. Don't go to this place. Actually live there and have that experience of, waking up and living in that place for some time.
Exactly. So they've decided, look, we're going to create an ad that really focus on the D type of content, yeah?
Mhm.
What makes us different, and we're going to celebrate that. And in doing so, they carve out a complete piece of the market for themselves. So if one side of it is, hey, don't just go to this country, go and live there, because that's quite compelling. We work a lot with hotels. What would our message be then? What would we be selling? If they're selling going to someone's house and cooking your own food and experiencing those type of stuff, we're here creating content for hotels. How would we position the hotel? If you don't know, you don't know. It's fine.
Come and relax. We'll do it all for you.
Exactly. So that's the other side of it then, that you can celebrate. That difference is you're not just selling a room, you're selling a complete experience, you're selling luxury, and you're selling, you don't have to do anything. You can come over here and you can actually enjoy your holiday, knowing that when you come back to the hotel, food's done for you. You can come in and use the spa. You're here to relax. You are on holiday. Yeah. So either one is great, and there's an audience for each one, but just knowing how you're going to separate yourself. And even in that hotel space, what has the hotel got that's different from the one down the road? And those are the things that you normally have meetings with the marketing manager of the hotel, or if it's a business, you're going to have things that you want to ask them, like, what's unique about your hotel? Is it to do with how close it is to the station? Is it to do with the facilities inside? Is it to do with the food that you guys have, the different restaurants you have? And those become those selling points that help you make and show difference. And especially in things like hotels, where there's lots of hotels normally quite close to each other, that D type of content really comes into play. And moving on then to the fifth one, that expansion. So if you're expanding into other markets, you're basically creating content either for a new demographic or in a new country, or you've added a certain feature to your product and it now opens it up for someone else. So if you think of Nike, for example, they were originally, I believe, like a running shoe, and they expanded into different sports. So they went into basketball, they went into tennis, they went into football. That's a different market, which needs a completely different marketing strategy, right? For them to then go into those different markets. And if a business comes to you and they want to do that, then obviously that's the type of content that you need to sort of think about of, all right, cool. What's the culture within this market? Yeah. So taking the trainers, for example, basketball has a completely different culture than football. And therefore you're going to be running different type of ads. That makes sense? So let's jump into the next part then. It's balancing sales and ads with storytelling and creative. Why do you think that there needs to be a balance between these two things?
Well, it needs to be creative and original in order to spark interest in your audience. And what was the other thing? Like engaging, so that, I don't know, the people feel they're in control.
Yeah. So I think you're going to find, as you sort of progress and you take over from doing what I do, is you'll sit down with marketing managers and they will have specific messaging. And they might even send you something like, hey, look, we need to put this in. And it'd be big paragraphs of sales text. Your job is to basically take that and to sort of make sure that you hide the messaging within the media. So people do not feel like they're being sold to. So when you're online and an ad comes up and it's a blatant ad, what do you do?
Click out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you just keep on scrolling.
Yep.
Yeah. So you have to figure out how much are you trying to sell? And when I say sell, I don't really mean sell as in get them to buy a product, but to sell one of those key commercial drivers, whether that's brand awareness, whether that is acquisition, whether that's the community thing. You need to do it in such a way that's subtle, where people don't feel like you're just trying to drag them in and to bring them in so that you can actually sell them products. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a balance in between what we do, making it creative, and what the marketing team needs the asset to do. And what happens if you go the other way and we make it super engaging, super creative, but it doesn't have that payoff at the end, that call to action at the end? What's the danger of creating content like that? You're a business, you've come to me and you said, hey, we need to sell more of this product.
Mm-hmm.
And I make you an ad that gets loads and loads and loads of views, loads of likes, and you don't sell one product. Have I found?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Why?
Because, well, it's overly creative and you haven't hidden that message of what you're trying to sell within it.
Yeah, it hasn't done what you needed it to do.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you won't be coming back to me. You're going to go somewhere else. So there has to be that balance between great content that's engaging, that has that purpose, where the message comes through enough that it sort of walks the person further on down the line of what we want it to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so storytelling then, we use that as a tool. We've discussed it before. So what storytelling allows us to do is hide our motives in the media, right? So we take that marketing messages, that messaging, we find a way to create a story that hides the motive of what we want it to do within the media. So someone engages and watches the ad or the piece of content that we've created, and it's the best ones are so well done that you don't actually realize, oh, they're selling to me, even though this is a company. They're not just creating content, or an organization, not just creating content because they want to keep you entertained. It has to have a motive. But the better you get at hiding that motive in the media, the more success you're going to have within this career as a content creator, right? You have to think of it then as an ad sells a product, but content sells the feeling. So if you can master that, and then you can work out, right, cool, is this an ad where we're just selling a product here, or are we creating content that's selling a feeling around this brand and around this product? And if you can create content that helps nurture a feeling around something, then that's a good piece of content, because people are going to engage with it more. And finding the right audience, which we'll be talking about next week, will help us further that. Yeah. All right then. So bringing it to a close then.
Right.
Let's have a recap. What are the 5 commercial drivers that we need to align content to? So A,
Acquisition.
acquisition. What does that mean? What type of content is that?
It's to do with the sales. So
Yeah, your ads,
yeah.
sometimes if you need your testimonials to actually sell, all of that sort of stuff, product reviews, that sort of stuff. Any content that you need to sell your services or products, that's the A type of content, yeah? So B type content.
Brand awareness.
Brand awareness. So any piece of content that helps you spread that awareness of your brand out there. So that would be your storytelling type of content. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then C is for community and engagement, right?
Okay.
So what type of content that would be? Remember we spoke about League of Legends
Mm.
and how they jumped on an idea to bring the community together to get people talking. That's your C type of content. Yeah. And then we have D. So D is for difference
Yes.
or
Differentiation.
that's it. What makes you different to your competitors? And then we talked about Airbnb, how they really focused in on that
Mhm.
and how they showed what makes them different, what makes them unique. And they used that in their promotional and sales material. And then E stands for expanding markets, right? So when you're expanding your services or your product into different markets, how do you carve out a piece of that? So the key takeaway though is when we create content, what must we do?
Say that again. Wait.
So the key point is when we create a piece of content, we're not just creating a piece of content for the sake of it. It has to do what with our commercial drivers?
Align.
Align. So it has to align with a commercial driver.
Yeah.
And a lot of businesses just rush in, they start creating content because that's what they feel they have to do. That's what their competitors are doing. They're just putting out content. And the problem they have is they might not know what type of content should we be creating. And this is what it all comes down to. The content types that we've discussed, they align perfectly with your commercial drivers. And the more we do it and the more you sort of sit in on meetings, you're going to be able to see, okay, cool, we're going to create this type of content because it needs to do this. And then you're going to see how each piece of content ties in. And there's multiple pieces of content that helps you do sales. Some of it we've already spoken about, taking it from your D type of content to put that into your A type of content. There's loads of instances where you're creating different types of content and they're playing into both sets or multiple sets. But if you keep this in mind as a content creator, you're going to be in a better position than someone, let's say, that just creates good looking content or just puts stuff out there. All right, so next week then we'll be touching on how content plays in with different buying types and user profiles. So how we tailor content to certain people and certain audiences. And that's what we'll be talking about, yeah?
Cool.
Cool. All right.
Sweet.
Ooh.